I will now be talking about StatefulSets, stateful distributed apps on a Kubernetes cluster. PetSets was a new feature starting from Kubernetes 1.3 and got renamed to StatefulSets, which is now stable since Kubernetes 1.9. It is introduced to be able to run stateful applications that need a stable pod host name instead of a pod name -random string, as you see when you run, for instance, deployments. They have a random string after the pod name, so they don't really have a stable host name. You always need to go over the service to then get access to one of the pods you're running. Your pod name in a stateful set will have a sticky identity using an index. For example, pod name -0, pod name -1, and pod name -2. And when a pod gets rescheduled, it will keep that identity. So if pod name 1 gets rescheduled, it will still be pod name 1. Stateful sets allow stateful apps stable storage with volumes based on their ordinal number. So if our pod name 1 gets rescheduled, it will keep the storage because it's stable storage. It will not have to be reinitialized. And then deleting and or scaling a stateful set down will not delete the volumes associated with the stateful set, preserving the data. So if you go from 3 to 2, then it will not delete the volume. You will have to clean it up yourself. This is to preserve the data. A stateful set will allow your stateful app to use DNS to find other peers. Cassandra clusters, Elasticsearch clusters use DNS to find other members of the cluster. For example, you can use the DNS name cassandra-0.cassandra for all the pods to reach the first node in the Cassandra cluster. So if you, let's say, have 5 nodes, all those 5 nodes can use the same DNS name to reach the first pod, which is cassandra-0. So they will then contact, in Cassandra it's called the seed node. So this is the way they find each other. So in this case, you need a stable host name for all the pods, for all the nodes that are running to find each other. Using stateful sets, you can run, for instance, 3 Cassandra nodes on Kubernetes named Cassandra-0 until Cassandra-2. So then you will have Cassandra-0, Cassandra-1, and Cassandra-2. If you wouldn't use a stateful set, you would get a dynamic host name, which you wouldn't be able to use in your configuration files, as a name can always change. A stateful set will also allow your stateful app to order the startup and teardown. Instead of randomly terminating one pod, one instance of your app, you will know which one that will go. When scaling up, it goes from 0 to n-1, where n is the replication factor. If you have 3 nodes, you have 0, 1, and 2. If you create another node, then your n will be 4. When scaling down, it starts with the highest number, so n-1. So replicate, if you have 4 nodes, it will tear down number 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. This is useful if you first need to drain the data from a node before it can be shut down, because then you know that the highest number will be scaled down first, so you can drain that node if necessary.